السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
يا عزيزي بس تسأل أن كيف الرجل يتعامل مع زوجتها أو مع زوجته الكافرة، أو كيف المرأة المسلمة تتعامل مع زوجها الكافر.
Whoa. أحسنت ولكنك أسأت أيضا. I'm going to translate. He dropped a bomb on us right now. He said, how does a Muslim man deal with his non-Muslim woman, wife? And how does a Muslim woman deal with a non-Muslim husband? And that's where the bomb is. No such thing. No such thing. Except in the early stage of reverting. I will explain. First, if you're a man who has a Christian or Jewish wife, Jewish is very unlikely nowadays, okay? So let's stick to the common, which is a Christian wife. Then obviously, you have to deal with her so that you bring her to Islam. First, we don't advise any brother on earth to marry a Christian woman, even though it is halal. What we have to differentiate in the deen is what is allowed does not mean is recommended. You may be allowed to do something, but it's not recommended that you do it. Allah did allow Muslim men to marry people of the book, provided that they are chaste. Not someone who has boyfriends and gone around, she has to be chaste and a good woman. If you find such a woman, still you're not advised to marry her, unless you believe she is on the verge of becoming a Muslim, in which case we hope that it will happen. But otherwise, what about all these Muslim sisters who cannot find husbands? You're going to leave the Muslim sister and marry a Christian woman? And what if you marry a Christian woman and she does not become a Muslim? What are you going to do during Christmas? And what are you going to do when you want to teach your children Salah? And what are you going to do? How are you going to have this non-Muslim woman raise your children Islamically when we now suffer with some of our Muslim wives who don't want to raise their children Islamically? You have to be fair and square. So we say don't do it. But if you were a Balik Islam, you were a revert to Islam, and so you already have a Christian wife, you have to exert all of your effort to bring her to Islam. And don't do it over the phone. Book the very next flight to the Philippines, if that's where you're from, or whatever country, book the next flight and go and give her official da'wah. Get the job done so you can have a peace of mind. And very often the woman will follow her husband. If she doesn't follow, then we gave many examples earlier about what she can do. So, that's on the side. A Muslim woman having a non-Muslim husband, no way. Unless she reverts to Islam, then he has a period of a grace period for him to embrace Islam as well, which is the iddah. If he becomes Muslim, from the time she becomes Muslim, they are actually divorced. Divorced as in when someone divorces his wife, she doesn't leave the house. She remains at home through the waiting period, the iddah, which is 3 menstrual cycles. Okay? From the time she becomes Muslim, and her husband is still a Christian or a Hindu or whatever he may be, she no longer has relations with him. Intimate relations. Automatically this is cut off. However, she remains at home with him, maintaining her modesty and so on and so forth, and she gives him da'wah. The whole period of iddah. If the iddah ends and he did not enter into Islam, they have to separate. And this is the fatwa of Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyya alayhi rahmatullah, and the fatwa of the ulama of today. All of them based on this particular fatwa. But for a Muslim woman to marry a non-Muslim man like that is haram, and their marriage is invalid, it's zina. And we've heard of cases when parents are allowing their children who are being persistent to marry non-Muslim men. So that's the only one, I'll commit suicide if you don't let me marry him, or some wild statement like that, and the parents succumb to the pressure and they say, okay, khalas, better than killing herself, at least she marries him. No. How are you going to give your daughter in marriage to someone whom Allah never allowed them to marry? They are not halal for them, as Allah clearly said in the Quran. So a Muslim woman may never marry a non-Muslim man, whether he's Jew or Christian or Hindu or atheist, whatever he may be, never allowed. And if they were to get married, they are in the state of zina. From the time they get married until they continue being married. And their children are born out of wedlock. Because Islam does not recognize this marriage, period. So you know, parents, this is something that is never allowed, and there are no difference of opinions. There are usually issues where the scholars differ. This is in the book of Allah, explicitly in the Quran. In 2 ayat, if my memory serves me well. There's no way around it. No scholar, as far as I know, has ever said that this is allowed. So the sisters can never marry a non-Muslim man, period. Now.